So guys, I think we've just seen the worst. And I mean, the worst call in the history of sport. I think we actually might have just seen the worst call in the entire history of sport. And, like, this is a shock that it is actually not Dijonai Carrington committing a flagrant foul.
On July 26, 2025, the WNBA may have witnessed the single most bizarre refereeing decision in sports history. The call was so absurd, so contrary to the rules of basketball that it instantly went viral. It happened to the one player at the center of every controversy, Dijonai Carrington. During a critical moment in a tight game, Carrington was standing perfectly still when another player sprinted at full speed and crashed into her from behind. It was a violent collision and the foul was obvious, but the whistle wasn't for the player who initiated the contact. Inexplicably, the referee called the foul on Carrington. But this story isn't just about one terrible call, it's about the shocking reaction that came next. Instead of outrage, the internet exploded with celebration. Thousands of fans said the same thing, she deserved it. This is the story of how a player's reputation for chaos led to the most ironic moment of the WNBA season.
Like, that might be, like, that is the worst call I've ever seen in basketball. That is actually the worst call I've ever seen in basketball. She just jumped through her. Like, she knew. Like, it is what it is. People will shield or get in the way of the ball and stand there. She just jumped over the back. Worst case scenario, it's an over the back foul. Worst case scenario, it's an over the back. Like, it is at least a foul on Tiffany Hayes, if not a flagrant.
Black and white sports reporters, well, it doesn't matter how many times Dijonai Carrington wants to get on her social media and want to claim that she's the victim and that she's not a dirty player. The league has rescinded fouls. Yeah, the league's rescinding flagrant fouls on you because it's run by a bunch of cowards. They're flagrant fouls. They're dirty plays. They're trashy plays. Someone's going to get very physically injured. At this point, Dijonai Carrington, forget about it. You won't beat these allegations.
The scene was a pressure cooker. The Dallas Wings with Carrington were locked in a desperate battle against the Golden State Valkyries. They were trailing by just 3 points with under 2 minutes left on the clock, a point in the game where every single possession feels like it could be the last. After a missed three-pointer by a teammate, the ball bounced erratically toward the sideline. Carrington, showing the sharp basketball instincts she's known for, gave chase but then wisely pulled up at the last second, letting the ball roll out of bounds untouched. It was a smart heads-up play, designed to ensure her team kept possession in a critical moment. But what happened next was pure, unadulterated chaos. Tiffany Hayes of the Valkyries, sprinting at full speed as if the ball were still in play, didn't stop. She plowed directly into the back of a now completely stationary Carrington, sending both players crashing hard to the floor in a tangled heap. The whistle blew, and everyone watching in the arena and at home assumed the obvious, a clear open and shut foul on Hayes for the reckless charge. Instead, the referee pointed directly at Carrington. The foul was on her. It was a call that seemed to defy all known rules of basketball and physics, a decision so baffling it left seasoned analysts speechless and fans furiously questioning what they had just witnessed. This single call completely shifted the game's momentum, stealing a crucial possession from Dallas and handing it to Golden State, who would go on to win by 10 points.
That call on Dijonai when Tiffany literally flew over her, wild. And then if you saw Paige's face when it was like, I think like 55 seconds left on the clock or something like that, and the coach was like giving them the next play, bruh.
You will not. Of course they're rescinding the fouls. That's what this league does. All right? Look, people can tell the difference between physical play and dirty play. And now there's a laundry list of evidence. Look, at this point, Dijonai Carrington should have been suspended, fined multiple times over. Of course they will. Now we're gonna hit you with a flagrant, and then behind the scenes we're cool. We're gonna rescind the flagrant.
But that wasn't the whole story. In fact, the most shocking part of this entire incident wasn't the call itself, but the immediate and overwhelming reaction to it. Under any normal circumstance, a player so clearly wronged by a terrible officiating decision would be met with an outpouring of support. Social media would have been flooded with angry fans demanding accountability and defending the player, but this wasn't a normal circumstance, and Dijonai Carrington is not just any player. The reaction online was swift and brutal, but not in the way anyone would have predicted. Instead of outrage on her behalf, the internet exploded with a stunning wave of satisfaction, amusement, and what can only be described as pure schadenfreude. Thousands of comments echoed the exact same two words: she deserved it. For the countless fans who had followed her career, this moment felt less like an injustice and more like a long overdue receipt finally being cashed. To understand why an entire fan base would celebrate such a horrifically bad call, you have to open the case file on the series of explosive incidents that built Carrington's reputation as the WNBA's most controversial enforcer.
Hayes does not look nor play like she's 35. Okay, she be bringing it to them girls each and every night. She got that, acting like that face harness, okay, like to protect her face, her eyes, her nose, whatever that is. She be look like a dominatrix to me. I'd be like, bro, who is that? She looks like it's giving Scarecrow. Or like a Black Raven vibe, okay, like a hawk. And she looks like a bird of prey, okay? And that's how she plays. She plays like a bird of prey, while the other girls in the court are just worms to her, okay? They are bird food, because she be cooking and eating everybody.
Dijonai Carrington's journey to becoming a lightning rod for controversy is a well-documented saga of hard fouls and questionable plays that have left a trail of anger and debate. The story truly ignited during the 2024 playoffs in a now infamous incident involving the league's brightest and most watched star, Caitlin Clark. In a play away from the ball, Carrington's hand made contact with Clark's face, resulting in an eye injury that left Clark visibly shaken. While Clark herself tried to downplay any malicious intent in her post-game comments, the footage went viral, and the narrative of Carrington as a dirty player began to cement itself. But that was just the beginning. Soon after, another incident saw Carrington deliver a hard, chopping foul across the head of Skylar Diggins-Smith during a fast break. The play was immediately deemed a flagrant 1 foul for its dangerous and unnecessary nature. Then there was the play against Gabby Williams, which caused an even greater uproar. As Williams went up for a jumper, Carrington slid aggressively into her landing space, leaving Williams with nowhere to come down safely. Williams landed awkwardly, rolling her ankle and forcing her out of the game. The evidence continued to pile up, from accusations of pulling an opponent's hair during a scramble for a loose ball to a consistent pattern of aggressive bone-jarring screens and off-ball contact that many felt crossed the line from physical to outright dangerous.
So the ball gets swung, Janelle Salon shoots the ball. It's coming out, it's coming out, it's coming out. So, Dijonai Carrington is just shielding the ball out of bounds. She's just shielding the ball out of bounds, as you do. And Tiffany Hayes tackles her to the ground. Tackles her to the ground.
This pattern of behavior has cast Carrington in a role that is both celebrated and condemned in professional sports. The villain. Every league has them, the enforcers and agitators who thrive on physical intimidation and psychological warfare. From Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer in the NBA to countless others across all sports, the villain is a necessary archetype that creates drama and emotional investment. Carrington, whether intentionally or not, has fully embraced this role. Her defiant social media presence, her unapologetic defense of her actions, and her on-court demeanor all feed into this persona. But being the villain in the modern, hyper-connected social media age carries a heavy price. Every questionable play is clipped, dissected, and debated by millions within minutes. A reputation is no longer built over seasons, it is forged in viral moments. For Carrington, this means that even her legitimate accomplishments, like winning Most Improved Player, are viewed through the lens of controversy. It raises serious questions about her long-term brand, her endorsement potential, and the kind of legacy she is building. While being feared on the court can be an advantage, being seen as a liability or a dirty player by the public can have consequences that extend far beyond the final whistle.
And was able to draw a foul. I'm like, what is this? I mean, she almost deleted freaking Dijonai. I thought, like, I was really gravely concerned for Dijonai Carrington's life and health. I'm like, did y'all not just see Tiffany Hayes just throw her body up against her and slam her to the ground? This is crazy. Literally slammed her. Dijonai Carrington got pushed into a freaking old white man's lap because of Tiffany Hayes jumping on her like she ain't got no sense.
What makes this narrative so incredibly complex is Carrington's own fierce defense of her actions. In the face of mounting criticism from fans, analysts, and even fellow players, she has consistently and aggressively pushed back against the dirty player label. She's taken to social media multiple times to state her case, telling followers, "Y'all fans swear I'm such a dirty player. I'm so over this narrative, BC, if you really know b-ball. You know I just play hard as hell and never give up on a play." She argues that her style isn't malicious, but rather a throwback to an era of tough physical defense where you do whatever it takes to win. This creates a fascinating and polarizing duality, a player who sees herself as the embodiment of hustle and old-school grit, and a legion of fans who see a reckless player who consistently endangers her opponents. The supreme irony, of course, is that on that night in July, none of her history mattered. She did everything right, made the smart basketball play, stood perfectly still, and was punished for it anyway. After a career of benefiting from no calls or having fouls overturned on appeal, she was finally on the wrong end of a decision that was, by any objective measure, completely and utterly indefensible.
Skylar's going down for a fast break layup. Dijonai winds up and smacks her across the head, and Skylar is on the ground having a hard time getting up. But this was something where people are saying, okay, Dijonai, this is happening a little bit too much for my liking. These hard fouls, these reckless plays are happening a little bit too much, and I want to show you guys one more play that was also in that game that actually injured Gabby Williams. Now, if you watch here, Gabby Williams is going up for a little mid-range jumper. Dijonai jumps to try to block her, and she comes down to where Gabby Williams doesn't have enough landing space. So she lands in her landing space, and then Gabby Williams rolls her ankle.
Adding another layer of chaos to this situation is the WNBA's own inconsistent handling of Carrington's plays. On several occasions, after referees on the court called her for a flagrant foul, the league office later reviewed and rescinded the call. On the surface, this might look like the league exonerating her, but in reality, it created a massive disconnect that only fueled fan frustration. The league was sending two completely contradictory messages. On one hand, its own trained officials, watching the plays happen in real time, were deeming her actions dangerous and worthy of a heightened penalty. On the other hand, a committee behind closed doors was waving it away, effectively telling the public there's nothing to see here. This double standard undermined the authority of the on-court referees and created the perception that Carrington was somehow protected, or that the league was unwilling to properly discipline one of its notable players. This failure to maintain a consistent standard of what is and isn't a dangerous play directly contributed to the karma narrative. Fans felt that if the referees on the court couldn't hold her accountable, and the league office wouldn't, then a bizarre, unjust call against her was the only form of justice left.
So once again, Dijonai Ratchet as Carrington is back at it again, being the dirty player that she is, man. So now we're pulling players to the floor by their hair. But what did we tweet earlier this week, everybody? Y'all fans swear I'm such a dirty player. I'm so over this narrative. But I just play hard as fuck, and I just make a play on the ball, and I'm tired of people calling me a dirty player.
While the spotlight focused squarely on Carrington, this single bizarre moment ripped the curtain back on a much deeper and more troubling wound within the WNBA, a growing crisis in its officiating. For years, players, coaches, and fans have voiced increasing frustration over wildly inconsistent calls, a perceived lack of accountability for referees, and game-changing mistakes that occur in the most crucial moments. Respected coaches like Becky Hammon and star players like Kelsey Plum have been fined for publicly criticizing the officiating, pointing to dangerous plays that go unpunished while minor infractions draw whistles. The problem has become so pronounced that when the audience begins to actively celebrate a blown call as a form of cosmic justice, it signals a dangerous erosion of trust in the entire system. It suggests that the fan base has lost faith in the league's ability to police itself, and now believes that the only real accountability comes from the unwritten rules of karma. The Carrington incident was more than just an outlier. It was a poster child for a professional league struggling to maintain its own credibility on the court.
Points to this Dallas ball. But do you know what another referee called? Do you know what another referee called? So one says it's Dallas ball. Another referee, as you can see right here, Salon miss, Valkyrie's rebound. Apparently Tiffany Hayes got the rebound, and Dijonai fouled Tiffany Hayes. Apparently.
And at the very heart of this entire saga, casting a long shadow over every debate and every controversial play, is the undeniable Caitlin Clark connection. The eye poke incident in 2024 was the flashpoint that truly ignited Carrington's controversial reputation, forever linking her in the public consciousness with the league's biggest star. Clark, who has become the face of the WNBA, has handled numerous aggressive fouls and intense media scrutiny with a level of grace and maturity that has only endeared her more to a global fan base. She has consistently risen above the fray, focusing on the game rather than on retribution. Carrington, on the other hand, has leaned into the role of the villain, both with her unapologetically physical play and her defiant online persona. Because of this stark contrast, the phantom foul on July 26th felt like more than just a bad call. For many, it felt like genuine poetic justice. The player who had famously poked Clark in the eye and benefited from a no call was now the victim of a foul that never happened. In the grand narrative of the WNBA, it felt as though the scales of basketball justice were finally and bizarrely balanced.
Dijonai Carrington, damn, I didn't think it was this bad. She played for 15 minutes. It felt like it was longer. She had 4 points, 1 assist, and 4 rebounds. I'm gonna tell you why we should have won, okay? When it comes to the biggest lead, the Dallas Wings had 12-point lead. We blew a 12-point lead, whereas the Golden State Valkyries only by 2. They had 10 points over us at the most in this game. 12 versus 10 points.
Is this? Look, pulling players to the floor by their hair is not making plays on the ball. This is not basketball. WNBA. When is she gonna get fined, suspended, or kicked out of the league for this reckless behavior? This is the 4th incident. The Lynx incident, taking out Ariel Atkins, taking out Skylar Diggins, and now the LA Sparks. When is it gonna stop, man? When is accountability gonna be taken for her being the dirty player and ratchet that she is?
So where does this leave Dijonai Carrington in the WNBA? The July 26th incident was a deeply satisfying, meme-worthy moment for her many critics, but it doesn't solve the serious underlying issues it brought to light. Carrington is, without question, an incredibly talented basketball player. She earned the WNBA's Most Improved Player award through undeniable skill and relentless hard work, and her defensive tenacity is a legitimate, game-changing asset. The problem is that her impressive basketball abilities are now almost completely overshadowed by her reputation. The fact that almost no one, not even her own fans, could muster much sympathy for her after such an obviously incorrect call should be a deafening wake-up call. For Carrington, it's a stark reminder that in the modern era of sports, perception can become reality. And for the WNBA, it is a flashing red light. The league is growing faster than ever before, attracting new fans and unprecedented media attention. But that growth cannot be sustained if fans come to believe that games are decided not by the extraordinary athletes on the court, but by incompetent officiating or the unpredictable and often cruel whims of karma. This single strange play has become a crossroads, forcing both a talented player and a rising league to confront the powerful narratives that they can no longer control.